Hey everyone, I am Brandon Alinger from Prop Store. We're here at the live stream today to show you some of the upcoming highlights of our entertainment memorabilia live auction. This auction takes place June 28th to June 30th. It is our annual summer auction. If you participated in June auctions in the past, you know that it is one of our biggest auction events of the year. This one is no exception. We have some fantastic content in here. And tomorrow is a very big day actually, because tomorrow the catalog is going to be live, which includes the full electronic catalog where you're going to see a comprehensive photo set of every piece in the auction. If you can't wait until tomorrow, if you are very eager to see all the content that's on offer, if you register for the auction today, you will actually receive a link to the PDF catalog. So the PDF catalog is available today. You can go see it right now if you would like to get your hands on it. But if you want to see the full electronic catalog where you can actually place bids and where you see the comprehensive photo sets, you're going to have to wait until tomorrow morning for that one. But here today we are going to give you, as I say, a preview of some of the highlight lots in the auction. We're going to do a couple more of these live stream previews in the run up to the sale in late June, and we will be showing a number of different highlights. In total, there's over 1,450 lots, I believe. It's a sizable number in this auction, and that's split over 3 days. So day one, which is June 28th, is going to have the content that is on the higher end of the estimate range spectrum, and days 2 and 3 is some of the more affordable content. The days run in alphabetical order, so day 1 will go through film and television titles in alphabetical order once, and then we'll repeat that for days 2 and 3. We'll start over again with the A titles and move through the Z titles on day 3. If you have questions on which day the specific lots that you're interested in come up for sale, take a look at the catalog, whether the PDF, in print, or online. Every lot will tell you exactly which day it's going to be sold on, so there is no confusion. We're looking forward to it. I hope you're looking forward to it as well. Of course, you'll need to register if you want to participate in the auction. Registration process is the same as always. You can go through it at propstore.com/live auctions. And of course, if you have any questions, please just reach out to us and we'll be happy to guide you through anything you'd like. With that said, I'd like to start covering some of the content because we do have some fantastic pieces to show off here today. I'm going to start over here with a collection that we have from the Big Lebowski. So this is going to come up early on day 1, June 28th. And there's, I think, 8, 10, 12 lots in total from this title, The Big Lebowski, most of which are fresh to market. They have not been offered before, and a number of which are screen match pieces. So I'll start right here with the Dude's sunglasses, of course played by Jeff Bridges. These are screen match sunglasses. They have a unique pattern on the frame. They call it the tortoiseshell frame, and you can match that specifically to the film. We also have the matching Walter sunglasses, played by John Goodman, which are, the interesting thing about these is that they're actually prescription glasses. So I don't know if it's coming through there on the camera, but you can see how thick they are. You can see the concave shape of the lens and the refraction that you're getting in the image through it, because those are actually his prescription made to be worn on screen. And then the one back here, I'll just pick this up actually to show it off because this is a fun piece. So this is, I'm not that strong, this is a stunt bowling ball. This is a lightweight bowling ball that they made specifically for the dream sequence where Julianne Moore's holding it. And I think there's a shot in the film where she has to hold it out like this, and so they cast a very lightweight one, so it was a very easy thing for her to hold. And this is a really nice piece. It's painted to look just like a real bowling ball. You would not know that it was lightweight until you picked it up, and it does screen match. The finish that's on it specifically allows us to screen match it. And as I say, many of the Big Lebowski props that are available in this auction are screen matched. There's some great paper props. There's the ransom note. There's the homework that they find that makes the dude think that it's a kid that stole the money. Most of the memorable props from the Big Lebowski, I'd say, are represented in this auction. So if you're a Lebowski fan, it's a fantastic collection. I'm going to move on from there to the Jumanji game board. Let's see if we can get a nice close-up of this so you guys can take a good look at it. This is what we call an open version of the prop, meaning it is fixed in the open position. The game tokens that are on it are replicas that are included for display, but the great thing about this piece is that the board itself is screen matched to a number of shots in the film. Now, if you're not familiar with screen matching, hopefully you are. Screen matching is a process that we go through where we look for unique traits on the proper costume that allow us to match it exactly to a specific shot or sequence in the film. So for example, we'd be looking for a scratch in the paint, or if it was a prop made out of wood, like a baseball bat, or say a table, you'd be looking for the grain of the wood, something very unique, a signature tell that lets you be confident that it's this exact piece. And we do have that on this Jumanji board. As I say, it is a screen match piece, which is really nice. And of course, it's the signature memorable prop from that film. The entire film is based around this game, Jumanji, so a really great piece if you're a fan of that one. And just for clarity, that is the original Jumanji, not the more recent remake. It is the original film with Robin Williams. We have a great horror lineup in this auction, so you can see just a couple of the pieces up here on the top shelf. There's a Freddy glove, which is screen matched from Freddy's Dead, I believe, and there is a Freddy hat from Freddy vs. Jason. There's a Scream mask and also a Jason mask, which is from Friday the 13th, Part 7. Coming down here, a Gremlin, and what's special about this one is that it's from the first film. So we've had a number of Gremlin puppets in the past from the second film. This is movie 1, the first Gremlins, released in 1984. The Gremlin puppets for this film were designed and built by Chris Walas, as opposed to Rick Baker, who came in and did the puppet work on the second film. So this is an original Chris Walas hand puppet Gremlin. You can see it's been mounted to a stand. It has had some minor restoration and stabilization work performed by Tom Spina Designs. If you guys know Tom Spina, we'll give him a little shout out. He does great work on creature pieces and foam latex pieces, and this was something that he did some work on to help preserve it for the future. One of the great things about this particular piece is that it comes from the collection of Joe Dante. It was Joe Dante's personal Gremlin, the director of the film. He kept it after filming. He sold it a number of years ago, and now it's coming back to the auction block. And as I say, I believe it is the first Gremlin, the first evil Gremlin that we have ever handled at Prop Store from the first film. The ones from the first film are just much more scarce than the second film ones. So we're really excited to have that piece. Just a beautiful example of a Chris Walas Gremlins puppet. Next to me, you may recognize this sizable sword. This, of course, is William Wallace from Braveheart. A couple of interesting things to point out about this one. One, the handguard here is not made out of metal. It's cast in a resin or like a very dense rubber material. And we don't know exactly why that was done, but it's an interesting thing to speculate on. You know, we think it's likely that it was done to prevent injury. So for example, if he was riding on a horse with the sword on his back, it may have made sense to cast this in something that's a little bit gentler so that it doesn't dig into his back and hurt him when he's riding with it. The blade, I would say, is a fighting version. If you come in close and you look at the edge of the blade, you do see nicks on it. You see some very specific damage where it's clearly hit other sword blades at some point during filming. And I don't know if I've seen another one like that. You know, there are a few Braveheart swords out there in the market, but I don't know if I've seen another one that had this great wear on the blade like that from set, which is really interesting to see. I'll show you a couple of superhero pieces. We have some great superhero content in the film, in the auction as well, including Star-Lord's helmet from the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. You can see it has the light-up eyes there. It's a really well-built helmet. The back comes off and is held on with magnets, so there's a magnetic system that allows it to clasp into place around the actor's head. And next to the Star-Lord helmet, we have a Thor hammer, which is from one of the more recent films, Thor: Love and Thunder. And of course, the thing with this hammer is they went to a different style where the surface is filled with cracks. So even though overall it's a very similar prop to those seen in the other Thor films, this one has got a new design for the hammer head. It's also, we were told that the handle and the wrist thong are wrapped in vegan leather as opposed to real leather because Natalie Portman is vegetarian and she didn't want to work with real leather products. So a couple of interesting notes about that one, the hammer from Thor: Love and Thunder. Moving on from there, you can see there's some other great pieces in the case as well. I'll just cover them quickly. Wonder Woman's sword and harness from Wonder Woman, including the sheath. The Edward Scissorhands, of course, from Edward Scissorhands. Nice thing about these is that two of the blades on the right hand are retractable versions, and you can screen match those specific retract blades to the film. The set overall was put together out of a number of different production components, so not everything on the set screen matches, but the retract blades specifically do screen match. I don't know if I've seen another screen matching example of anything related to Edward Scissorhands in the past, so that's a very cool piece. The destroyed jigsaw head from one of the Saw films. That screen matches to behind-the-scenes footage from one of the documentaries on the film, which is neat. And of course, the Good Guys doll down there at the bottom needs no introduction. I'll show you a couple of the costumes behind me. First up, we have Rose's sinking coat, played by Kate Winslet in Titanic. So this is an original that was sold after the film was released. One of the interesting things about Titanic, it's one of the first examples of a film that was selling props and costumes directly to the public after it was released. Of course, Titanic was a major movie. They did a partnership with a department store, I believe, called J. Peterman, and they did sell a number of different props and costumes directly, including, I believe, this one. This is a Rose sinking coat that does carry with it a certificate of authenticity from the studio, 20th Century Fox. They did have a number of these for production. Of course, she gets wet in the film. You know, it is when the ship is sinking. Anytime wardrobe is going to get wet, they've got to have multiple examples because they've got to be prepared to change them and go again or film again. So that's a really nice example of a memorable Titanic piece. Behind it, if you can see in the shot there, this was a lot of fun when this came to light because we had never heard of this piece existing, and in fact it's been in the same private collection for the past 30 or 40 years. That's an original Harrison Ford costume from Blade Runner, so Rick Deckard, and it has a lot of use on it. There's a number of great things about this particular setup. One is the completeness. So if we go down to the bottom, you'll see it actually has the shoes. Those are the original shoes that Harrison Ford wore in Blade Runner. I took a close look at them when they came in. They're similar to like a basic Adidas shoe, but no markings whatsoever. So they're probably a knockoff manufacturer that was just obtained somewhere very inexpensively. The shirt, you can see, has a tear on the side of the waist there. That is from the moment in the film where Batty breaks his fingers, and then he rips a piece of the shirt off and puts together a makeshift sling to patch his hand up. We have sold one example of that shirt in the past that had the exact same tear at the stomach. And then you'll see the suit itself is distressed. So the pants, you can see the white powder and the dust on them. And the jacket, you see very distinctly the blood on the lapels. It's distressed because of the fight with Roy Batty. And the blood on the lapel you see very specifically at the end of the film when Deckard comes back to get Rachel at the apartment. There are a few frames in there where you can see that lapel, even though it's frequently covered by the famous trench coat or the overcoat that Deckard wears. You do see that for a bit in the film. And then when we went to study the movie, we went through the 4K film to see what we could screen match. We actually found that the jacket is the exact one that he used in the Voight Comp sequences. So much earlier in the film when he's trying to determine if Rachel's a replicant, he's wearing this exact jacket. It does screen match to there. So they used it for that scene, and then later in production when they were filming the Roy Batty fight and Deckard going back to get Rachel, they used the exact same jacket for that scene as well. So fantastic Harrison Ford Blade Runner costume. Definitely the best Ford Blade Runner piece that we've handled, and just a really nice example to see turn up after all these years. I'll pivot over here to this side and I'll show you, we also have a fantastic collection from Ghostbusters 2016, also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Some great props in this one. The Proton Pack, this is what they call the V3, version 3 of the Proton Pack. It's the one that is seen later on in the film. And they were worn interchangeably, so we don't know exactly who used this one, but you can see it's rigged up with lights. It has the counters that run here, the big red light in the center of it. And then the wands have a fun attribute. You can see down at the end there's a tip that's wrapped in LED tape, and when I push the button on the wand there, it lights up red. And they actually had different lengths of those red LED nozzles. And the reason they do that is basically to get what they call interactive lighting on set. So, for example, when an actress starts, firing the proton pack, they need to see reflective lighting on the face or the clothes or anything that's around them in the set. So when they have a prop like this that has a practical element or a special effects element, it generates that interactive lighting that's going to make the whole thing seem real. Obviously, they're going to put the Neutrona wands, I believe they're called, or the Neutrona stream. Is that right? Is that the proper Ghostbuster terminology? They're going to put that in with visual effects, but the interactive lighting needs to be captured in the moment, and that's why they put that together. So I believe we've got 2 two different lots of these V3 proton packs in the auction, and we do have a V2 proton pack as well, which is a slightly different style. We have a prototype proton pack. We have things like the PKE meter, the Ghost Chipper, really a fantastic spread of lots from Ghostbusters 2016. Separate to that, we have a very nice collection of creature pieces from the original Ghostbusters, the 1984 film directed by Ivan Reitman. A couple of highlights from that are a Terror Dog head and a number of different prototype Stay Puft heads and a prototype, sorry, not a prototype, a Stay Puft bow tie, red bow tie that is an original film used example. So some really nice Ghostbusters stuff, both from the original film and the 2016 film. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you'll definitely want to take a look at those lots. One more thing that's worth noting on the Ghostbusters 2016 content, there are pieces on both day 1 and I believe day 2 of the auction. So you'll find that sometimes in our catalog. You know, we'll have a Star Wars section in day 1, then we'll have another Star Wars section in day 3. Make sure you go through the catalog in full, or reference the index, or online use the categories that are available on the left-hand side of the auction catalog, the online auction catalog, where you can select a genre or a franchise or a film, and you can be sure that you're seeing all the content and not missing anything. Next, I want to talk about this piece. This is actually a favorite of mine because I love this film. This, of course, is Gladiator, and this is a body armor, or a cuirass as they're known, that Russell Crowe wore, and this is what we would call his general's dress cuirass. So you can see it has the wolf crest here on the top of the chest. That is the exact same crest that's seen on his gold general's battle armor that he wears for the fight sequence at the beginning of that film. After the fight is over, when he goes to see the Emperor, and then for several scenes where he's checking on the troops, he is wearing this version. And you can tell it's a more formal armor, it's a more formal costume overall. The underlayers are kind of a silk material. It's similar but different to the battle armor. It's not worn as extensively as the battle armor, but this couple of great things about this piece. One, it's a hero version, meaning hero construction, so the body armor itself is cast fiberglass that's then been leather wrapped, as opposed to many of the armors worn in Gladiator are foam stunt versions. And the other nice thing about it is it's screen matched. So there are a number of different shots in the sequence with Marcus Aurelius where you can see the paint work very specifically on the wolf crest, and you can see some of the splotches, some of the scratches on the leather. It is this exact armor that you're seeing on camera, which is really fantastic. There's a number of other cuirass out there, but very rare to see a screen matched one. And we've never handled one of this style before. In fact, I've never seen another one of this style in a private collection or in a studio archive. It's a really rare example. It could even be a one-off, the only one made for the film. We don't know that for certain, but given that it's screen matched, we've never seen another, it's very possible. So that's a lovely Maximus piece in the auction. And next to Maximus, we have a great Harry Potter setup. This is from the second film, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. What you're seeing here is actually a couple of different lots displayed together. So the first lot is the costume with the shoes and the glasses. The glasses are a nice touch. Of course, the Hogwarts sweater and the tie. And then separate to that, we do have Harry's wand here. That's the very next lot in the auction, but the wand is sold separate to the rest of the costume. What I love about this one is the distressing. So, you know, you can really add a lot of character to something with distressing, and I think this is a great example of that. You see all the mud on the sleeves. You see the stage blood up near the collar. It just has so much life to it because it's been distressed in this way. Of course, it's got the famous patch on the cloak there, the Gryffindor patch, which is really nice. And one of the fun things about these robes, which I didn't know until I saw this one in person, is that they're actually manufactured with a specific wand pocket in there. So that little sleeve there is specifically designed to take Harry's wand, which makes for a pretty nice display. How are we doing out there on the live stream? Any questions so far? Any questions that I can answer for our viewers? Covering everything. Okay, glad to hear it. A couple more highlights in the auction that we're going to cover today. I'm sure you've already heard about this one. It's been in the media. This is Princess Leia's ceremonial gown from the end sequence of Star Wars: A New Hope. So an incredibly significant Star Wars costume, of course worn by Carrie Fisher. It is the one and only gown that was made for that end sequence. It does screen match both the dress itself and the belt. I love the belt. I think the belt is one of the best parts of this costume. It's very similar to the belt that she wears with her other costume in the film, the costume that has the white hood. But this one, they went with a silver reflective base fabric rather than a kind of white leather that they used on the other belt. The belt screen matches. There's a scratch there right on the bottom of that front buckle that you do see very clearly in production photos, and you can even see it on screen. And this is just a great story because this piece was thought to be lost for many years. No one had seen it since the end of filming. It turned up about 10 years ago with a crew member in the UK who was involved in the production. He had saved it from destruction. It was not in the best condition when it was located. It went to professional textile conservators in the UK, folks that do work with museums all over the world, and they spent about a year cleaning, stabilizing, and restoring this dress. So there was an extensive process first just to clean the fabric because it is a very lightweight, very sheer fabric, and it had everything from dust and dirt from storage to possibly wine and possibly even a bit of blood from some kind of prior use at a fancy dress party at some time after it was used in Star Wars and long before it was considered to be a significant garment. And all of that had to be cleaned up and handled in a very professional manner. There was some material lost in certain places on the dress, and so there are a few places I can point out where you'll see the material has been infilled, meaning they've taken a very similar fabric and they've filled the holes in. Everything's been done in an archival way, meaning it's fully reversible in the future. Some of the stitch lines had to be retacked, repaired because they had come undone. And as I say, it's a really lightweight garment. It's also really unique in its construction. I don't know how apparent it is from it standing there static, but it has these kind of wings that come down the side, these very interesting sleeves that her arm would come through down there. And we do have some photos in the catalog that show how the arms can lift up, and you do see it in some of the stills of Carrie Fisher at the time as well. Just a couple of weeks ago, Carrie Fisher got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I was looking at some of the photos from the event, and the photo that they chose to represent Carrie Fisher at this Walk of Fame ceremony, which of course was attended by her daughter, Billie Lourd, was a photo of Carrie in this exact dress, a Star Wars production photo. And it really just drove home for me what a significant item this is, and what a significant piece it is in relation to Star Wars, in relation to Carrie Fisher, who became one of the biggest actresses in modern Hollywood, and really just the franchise that Star Wars is today. This is literally the last thing that you see on camera when you watch that movie. The final shot is Carrie Fisher up there on stage, and then we go to a wipeout that kind of closes in the middle, and this dress is literally the last thing you see before you see George Lucas's director's credit come up. So, incredible piece of Star Wars history. The pre-sale estimate on this one is $1 million to $2 million. It is going to be fascinating to see what it goes for, and also who's interested in it, because it is very much a museum caliber piece. Similar dresses worn by Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn have gone to other museums and similar institutions in the past, and we can't wait to see what happens with this one on auction day. I'm going to show you one more piece for today, one more big one, and then we'll wrap it for today. We'll pick up again in the future with another live stream. If you have questions, feel free to call them out now, or of course you can reach out to us after, and we'll be happy to answer. But for the last piece, I'm going to go to our cover item. This is on the front cover of the catalog. It's a great horror piece. It has never been offered before. It's come out of storage for the first time in many years, specifically for this auction. This is the evil possessed clown from Poltergeist, and this is the screen-matched evil clown, believed to be the one and only. If you know the film, you'll know that the clown is in Robbie's bedroom throughout the film, but normally it has a very cheery, smiley, happy clown face. And then as the poltergeist starts to set in and things start to go wrong at the house, the head of the clown changes into the version that you're seeing here, the evil clown. The clowns were made for the film by a doll maker who's based out in San Diego, and she sculpted the heads. This one is actually cast in plaster, and a couple of interesting things about this. One is the damage on it. So you'll see if you go in close, there are some cracks on the head, including a crack on the forehead, and you actually see some of that on screen. So when the child actor who played Robbie is wrestling around with the clown on camera, you get a shot where you can see the crack line at the forehead of the clown right under the hat. It shows me that they didn't have a backup, that they were working with one and only. The glue that you see there, those are on-set repairs that were done at the time to put it back together. Another thing that's worth noting is when you watch the film again, you'll see that the satin fabric parts of the costume are a very distinct blue, and they're not blue anymore. And basically, the color has just faded. And there's a couple other examples of original production clowns, not the evil version, but the smiling version that we've seen in the past, and they were all exactly the same. The deep blue satin of the hat and the cuffs on the shoes and the wrist here, they had all gone from their original deep blue color to the kind of pink fabric they see today. But if you go in very closely on them, you can see the stitching, the thread is blue, and that really tells the story for me. You know, the whole thing was originally blue, and really interesting to see how time has impacted that fabric. It is complete with its original hat, which is glued onto the top of the head, and you can see the hat is decorated with some stars and moons and things like that. Just a wonderfully creepy piece for horror fans. If you're somebody who loves horror, Poltergeist is one of the staple horror films of all time. Of course, well known for its involvement with Steven Spielberg, who was producer, some say director, did some of the directing on the film. Of course, officially directed by Tobe Hooper. But it's a classic. It's a horror classic. It's one of a number of great horror pieces that we do have in this auction. And when you go through the catalog, you'll see a few others from some big titles like, say, The Thing. We're really happy with the horror selection that we were able to put together for this auction, and of course, the Star Wars selection. Any questions? Any questions coming in, Charlie, that I can answer today?
Someone wants to know if we have anything else from Child's Play going into the auction.
Anything else from Child's Play? I don't think so in this one. No, stay tuned for future auctions, but I think in this auction it is just that one Child's Play piece.
And someone would like you to repeat the estimate for that Leia dress.
I'll repeat the estimate for the Leia dress. Okay, the estimate once again is $1 million to $2 million US dollars. It's a fantastic piece of Star Wars history. If you followed our auction last summer, you may have seen the X-Wing fighter model that sold for $1,900,000 US dollars. That was the hammer price with buyer's premium. It was, I believe, $2.375 million. That was the most expensive Star Wars item that we've had go through auction to date. This piece, it's a different kind of piece. It's not a model miniature. It's a costume, but very much in the same league as far as its significance, and it's going to be fascinating to see what that one goes for. If you missed the beginning of the live stream here, of course you can go back and watch it, but I just want to remind everyone again about the catalog. So the full catalog, the online version, will post tomorrow morning, Pacific time. In the online version of the catalog, you can place bids, and of course you can also see multiple shots of every item in the sale, so you'll get a comprehensive look at all the different angles of it. And if you can't wait until tomorrow morning, you can get a PDF download of the auction catalog today by registering. So when you register, as your registration is approved, you will get a link to download the PDF version. Of course, the hard copy versions, the printed books, are coming soon as well. Those are for sale right now at propstore.com. I believe they're in transit to us as we speak. So if you want to get your hands on a copy of that, take a look at propstore.com and you'll be able to order one there as well. It's essentially the same as the PDF download, but it is, of course, the printed version. Some collectors like to have those on their shelves for the future. Just one other thing about the catalog, one other note worth making is that there is a dedicated booklet showcasing the Princess Leia costume. It goes into all the details of the restoration, the screen matching, has multiple reference photos of Carrie Fisher, and just gives more backstory in general on the dress. So if you're interested in the dress, please do check out that separate appendix booklet that exists for the Princess Leia ceremonial dress as well. Any other questions? Okay. Well, then with that, I just want to say thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we're looking forward to see you at the auction June 28th to June 30th.